This week on Pivot with Purpose.
I think people who have challenging lives can still teach us really great things.
Yeah. Crackheads have great things to say sometimes.
That
I'm going to follow you.
Oh, they speak the truth.
They have none to lose.
They speak the truth.
Who better than a crackhead to tell you don't do this? Hey friend, you're listening to Pivot with Purpose. This is my show where I pivoted from shit I'm 30, where I was dreading turning 30. I had a failed marriage, failed engagement after that, and I don't have a relationship with my immediate family. But through it all, I came out the other side with a thriving business, an unexpected radio morning show of my own, and a platform where I can reach millions of people and help them walk in their truth. I am now celebrating every step of my journey into continuously finding my purpose, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes this journey looks like shit, and it probably sounds even worse, but it's still our journey, and I'm learning right along with you to enjoy it. There's always a rainbow after the rain falls. Now, if you need advice in pivoting in any aspect of your life, relationships, career, spirituality, send your questions or story to askcarlawilmaris@gmail.com or shoot me a DM at Carla Wilmaris. Now, let's start the show. Welcome back to another episode of Pivot with Purpose. Thank you for coming back. You could be anywhere right now, like listening to, I don't know, Meg Thee Stallion argue with her mans or her ex-mans. You could be anywhere, but you came back, especially after like certain episodes when people just don't like what I said, but you did. And you're here. So thank you. Today, I do want to shout out before we get started our Apple Podcast review, because your reviews is what keeps me going and what keeps bringing advertisers to the show. That can keep giving you some free content, because, you know, I'm no longer behind a paywall at all. I was years back with Shit I'm 30, but with this show, it's all free. So you guys can get to hear me talk about my feelings all day long. Like if I'm an expert in something, I'm an expert of my life. That's it. But this week, Cash Ann did leave an Apple Podcast review, and she says, "This is the podcast I needed." Girl, me too. It says, "I love your podcast. What's crazy is I heard you before from Brilliant Idiots." And see, the thing is, I'll take that one. And see, the thing is, podcast, I didn't know you had a podcast, so I was looking for someone to help me start a podcast. And baby, you are dope. Keep doing your thing. Thank you. I do, till this day, get a lot of listeners, clients that come from Brilliant Idiots. Do you know Brilliant Idiots podcast?
I do not know Brilliant Idiots.
It's actually,
not have to check them out.
I have two pods that I listen to for pleasure, because I'm in the pod and listening to my own clients all the time. And one of them is Brilliant Idiots, and the other one is The Read. The Brilliant Idiots is with Charlamagne and Andrew Schultz, and The Read is with Crystal and Kid Fury. And I happen to know their engineer, and I was just having a geeky conversation with him this week. And I was like, look, I don't text you often, but there's some weeks that I want to be like, bruh, where is the episode? I'm like, I'm legit a fan. That's when I can like sit back and just listen to someone just talk about like things that aren't progressing in life. And it's just like, they're fun shows. So I did tell him that. So I do understand when I don't drop on time, when you guys are messaging me like, where's the episode? I know, sorry, because I feel like that with some episodes. But with this show specifically, I like that my audience gives me the space to kind of show up when I'm ready. I have to show up for 13 other people on a weekly basis for their content to be out. And mine is more like a community, like, hey, I'm here to fuck with you. Like, what's up? Today, let's talk about what I got going on. Yeah. And sometimes I'll miss a week or I'll be a couple of days late, but definitely I try to show up on a weekly basis because advertisers. Maybe listening like, did the episode drop? No, we'll get it together. Well, this week we're gonna get straight to it because I have so much to talk about with her. I have been stalking her forever. Usually your stuff just pops up, but I have Isis Brianna here with me in Orlando, not virtual. She's here in the flesh at Hi Hello Labs. So Brianna you're a business coach. She is basically a digital sales expert. Like you can sell the hell out of something digitally, honey.
I can.
And it makes you literally inspire me to like continue to sell. When people tell me like you constantly selling something, I know. And to me, I don't want a brick and mortar. I've never wanted a brick and mortar business.
Me either.
I've really never wanted a product-based business, although there's one that I'm about to start that I'm kind of excited about. And but yeah, digital is my jam. Yeah. I love me something digital. Zoom calls. Yeah. Don't try to call me into an office. Yeah. Don't like it. Don't want to see you in person. You're also a speaker. You're on Everybody and Their Mama stage. every stage Isis is there. And then your wife, I saw you got
Yes.
married.
Yes.
She be all happy on the ground. I'm like, goals.
I'm obsessed with my man.
Yeah?
I really am. Like, if we can do 2 hours just talking about that.
Really?
I love him,
I
but let's
love
not.
that. Okay, but we're going to.
Okay.
Because I'm heartbroken. I can't find me a man. Where did you find him? We're about to find out. It's probably because she be writing on her stuff. I've been seeing her writing on this. I said, maybe I should write some more. Let me get some more pen and paper. My hand be hurting. I watch you and my hand hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another thing that really connected me to you with your content that you speak on, and it makes sense as to why, like, I have a community of people that connect with me, and then you have yours. It was ADHD.
Oh, yeah.
It's like now I think it's overused, perused as anything is when we start learning about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's good, though, because we get to educate ourselves on why we're so quirky.
And start feeling validated. I was just telling my dad last night. I was like, I needed to be diagnosed. I don't attach myself to the diagnosis. I don't excuse myself, but I needed it to know that I'm not crazy.
And that's the word.
Yeah.
That C word, honey.
Yeah.
Because I've been told that for years growing up. Something was wrong with me, or I was bad, or I couldn't do this. And I'm like, maybe I just learned different.
Yeah.
So now I'm more conscious even of my kids. Like, I probably passed this down to you. My bad. But honestly, it's my superpower. And I say it almost every episode. My ADHD is my superpower. And I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for it. So you're a lot.
I am.
You're a lot of things. And I love that because who wants to be little and who wants no. We have a lot of beautiful things. The first thing that I do want to touch in, how do we even I kind of like that you're obsessed with your man. We weren't even supposed to talk about that. But how long have you been with him? Now
5 years.
Okay.
Been together 5 years.
That's a good
married a
amount of
year.
Because after 3 years you start to not like people.
Really? You know what? I heard something like that. It's like a cycle, like 3, 7, or 10.
So I think around 3 for me.
Yeah.
In my non-expert opinion, I think 3 years is when you really get to know someone. And then the 7-year one is the one where you really get tested. Like once you get past those 7 years, especially in marriage, is when they say you can really get past anything.
Yeah.
And then you get to 30 years and people break up and it's like, what
yeah.
happened?
Yeah. I always wonder, how does that happen?
At 30 years.
How you 89 getting divorced? That always shocks me.
We're about to have a lady that's in her 80s for another show that I'm producing, and she was married for 10 years, but now she got 2 boyfriends. She's in her 80s. She said that she got one that likes to stay home, doesn't like to go outside.
Okay.
So she has another one that takes her out.
And they know about each other.
That part I'm about to find out when we interview her.
I can't wait.
I can't wait. That show won't come out till like March, April. But definitely I'm really excited about having it. But how did you meet him? Because I love. Yes. Don't get me wrong. I fucked up.
Yeah.
And I might have made the wrong choices. I think especially it came from like my own traumas and me not really knowing maybe myself and not taking clues and leading into my own understanding versus like asking God first. And I've spoken about this, but where did you meet yours for you to be still this obsessed 5 years later?
I met him in Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
It was very much like how Stella got her groove back. No, he's not. He lived in the States.
Because I was like, he looked black.
Yeah. Okay, so we were like very serendipitous of how we got together because we found out in Puerto Rico and later that we had been in the same room multiple times over the past few years. Like I'm an AKA. He came to my probate.
Oh, is this AKA?
Yeah.
Okay.
He dropped my roommate off. They were like friends in college. And so my friend and his friend, they all got together and I was like the homebody. So he dropped my friend off at our apartment and
so
I stayed in the
house.
And I stayed in the room. There were many times that we could have met. And I was like, that was you that night? Keeping me up?
Wait, was he messing with your room?
No.
Oh.
It was like a group of friends.
Gotcha.
So we met in Puerto Rico because he went to undergrad with my sister. They went to UAB together. And
so he was supposed to be in the family.
He was supposed to be there. Yeah. She dated his best friend. It's just like crazy.
So many things.
Yeah.
So the moment that you met, was it like love at first sight?
For him, yes.
You're like, look at me, HD camera. Yeah.
It definitely was for him. He says it though. But so my sister hit me up and she was like, what's going on in Puerto Rico? I see a friend out there too. And I was like, oh, this is my first girls trip. So I said,
it wasn't like an event or anything.
It was not an event. It was just me, my best friend, and we just wanted to hang out. And he just happened to take somebody's place on the trip. He wasn't supposed to be on that trip with his group of friends. And my sister saw us both on Instagram. And so, and mind you, that was my first time being on Instagram. My best friend created an Instagram for me. She's like, you need to post your pictures.
How
You're
many
too cute.
years?
It's 5 years ago.
You just got an Instagram 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Shut up. Okay.
Anywho, so I told my sister, I said, well, can you go message him and ask, can we hang out? Because we're girls and like we don't want to go out alone. This is our first trip. So she DM'd him. We exchanged numbers. We meet up in Puerto Rico and we had a time. That was my first night there, his second night there. So we hung out the entire time.
How long were y'all there for?
We're like there for like 4 nights.
Y'all kissed?
Yeah. Because, girl, we said I love you like the first night. And I'm not kidding. I texted my mom. I texted her and I said, I found my husband. And she said, are you drunk? And I said, yes. And I found my husband. Like, I was very sure.
You know what's crazy? That because I'm scarred, I would be like, that is scary. What do you mean I love you, right? Because, you hear like horror stories when it comes to stuff like that. But I love it. It's working. So you guys, and you guys are from the same place? Like live in the same place?
So when we met, I was living in Atlanta and he was living in D.C.
Okay.
But he had just moved out of Atlanta. That's how we were in the same place multiple times. And he's 5 years older. So it's like our friend group was kind of like a little mixed. But yeah. And so then we ended up moving to Dallas together.
How long after?
About a year, a little over a year.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we ended up moving in together during COVID. That was an accident.
COVID did a number on people.
And then I fell into marriage.
That's so good. And I feel like, again, social media to me is a portal for business, is a highlight reel. I happen to show a lot more than highlights. I be telling all my business up and down because I'm a bit of a loner in the past like 6 years. And it just be me and my camera.
Yeah.
People are like, but you're so active on social. That's who I talk to, me and my camera.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels to the audience that I'm talking to them like one-on-one, and I do respond to a lot of DMs, but really when my phone is in front of me, it's just me and it, and
just
once
chilling.
those 60 seconds are done, it's like it's down, I'm sucking my thumb, or I'm working and doing my own thing, usually with no pants on, just drawers, and y'all don't know that or can see that, but it seems like he's very supportive of everything that you do.
Oh yeah.
What is like when you say you're obsessed with him, what are those qualities that have you obsessed with a man?
He is, oh my gosh. Okay, I say this and I'm half joking, half serious. Me and my friends say that we think that he's an angel on earth. Aww. Because his spirit, he's the type of person who makes you want to be a better person. And like to everybody around him, he's like really caring. He's very dominant without being like toxic dominant. And I've had toxic dominant where they think like masculinity is like demanding you and telling you what to do. So you've seen the opposite. I've seen the opposite. I've experienced the opposite. Okay. And I ran away.
Good. I'm glad you ran away before you got
it took a while. But yeah, he's just caring. He's a giver. He's supportive. And
that's something, you just said something that's really important. And it's like, he's an angel and he's supportive of everyone around him.
Yes.
I think one thing that I didn't notice with my last relationship is like how supportive he was of me and how much he built me up and this pedestal he kept me on. But the people around him, not so much. And it would be like, well, it's because he loves me, or it's like because you're my woman. It's because it's me and you against the world. And I'm like, why do we gotta be against the world?
Yeah.
Why can't we just be a part of the world and be good people to the world and bring, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to be against them. I don't want to fight everybody every day.
It's exhausting.
And
that's how my previous relationship was. It felt very much like we're Bonnie and Clyde, my partner in crime.
I don't want to
commit crime.
I can't go to jail. I don't know about you, but I feel like they'll rape me.
I don't want to.
And I'm not scrubbing no bathrooms.
I'm not cleaning that.
And I'm not cooking that.
And I'm not talking to people.
This is gonna be a big.
You have to be social to get through jail.
I'm not doing it. Jail seems, but I also, I might do a podcast in jail. I don't know. Let me get a mic and some cameras. Suge ain't got nothing on the podcast I would do in jail, okay? No, but I couldn't do jail. I don't want that Bonnie and Clyde love. And from what I've seen, again, never have met you, don't know you guys in person, but it seems like there is that support that has been long lasting, right? And you've been able to grow. We've been watching from the outside, you growing in business and as a person and being able to do your thing without being held back by someone or your identity having to be intertwined with that person.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah.
'Cause that wasn't for me. It was like everything I needed to do had to be with him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to do nothing else with you. Like, I'm with you all day. Like, you're just attaching yourself to my brand constantly. And it's like, but what are you bringing of value?
Right.
You know, and if there's nothing of value there other than the name and someone else you're attached to, it's like, now we're having a threesome.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. Yeah, I'm very much just me and you.
Yes.
I don't want to have it with everybody else. But going into that, so maybe we can kind of stay on some of the personal stuff because I might be TMI, but it's per usual. I got my period 2 days early. And I was flying from
I'm ending mine right now. It's my last day.
Oh.
Never TMI.
No, I talk about it because I'm so emo, and I just had Nicole Kane from XO Nicole Pryor, but now she does my Happy Flow. So I've been taking her pills. I think I saw maybe a little bit less during my PMS stage, but I was also traveling a lot.
Yeah.
So I can't necessarily tell from the past 2 weeks. But you deal with something completely different, and you've been open about, and the only thing I don't know if there's anything else, is endometriosis.
Right.
And I have a friend that experienced it, and I'm not very well versed on it. All I know is that you've talked about that and complications, or maybe like a little bit still with pregnancy.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
And I want to know some of that for you as a woman, because you're only 28. You're young, but at the same time, I remember going to a doctor at 33.
And they remind us that those eggs are cooking.
At 32, he told me, you need to figure out if you want another kid because you're running out. And I said, running out?
It's wild.
I couldn't believe he was telling me that at 32. I left that place crying, which probably attributed to me wanting to get pregnant so fast by the wrong person when I did with my son. Not that my son is a mistake, but I remember the pressure from him to get pregnant, then a doctor telling me, oh, you better get off birth control now and figure it out. And I was like...
And when that option is taken away, you want it more. Because I've experienced that. Like the moment he said, oh, okay, you may deal with some infertility or whatever, I immediately was like, okay, it's time to start getting pregnant.
Now I want triplets.
Yeah.
Now give me
give me all the kids. Yeah.
Don't. Look, so when did you find out? What is endometriosis for you? I don't know if it's different for different people. And then what does that look like with what they told you?
So I feel like I've known my entire life. I knew something was wrong. Same way I felt with ADHD, something was just wrong. And it wasn't until we started having more talks around periods and people talking online, like pain may be normal for you, but it's not okay. And I was like, oh,
it's not.
We're not all throwing up and passing out every month. Okay. And it just so happened that about 2 years ago now, I was in Orlando going to Disney World with my best friends, one of which is a gynecologist. And so my period came on while I was around her. I never had it around her. And I was like, y'all, my butthole hurts. I can't walk my butthole. And she was like, oh, I didn't know you had endometriosis. And I said, I don't have endometriosis to my knowledge.
Right.
And she said, oh, that's one of like the clear signs. You should probably go see your doctor. And so I've seen doctors before then, but they just kind of brushed it off as painful cycles. And they would do scans, and I had cysts there, which that I now know are endometriomas. So I always assumed that I just had cysts. And so I finally went to a doctor who's phenomenal. And he was like, yeah, you have endometriomas, you have endometriosis, they're growing. He kind of put me on a game plan for pregnancy and all of that stuff. I love him because he doesn't want to give me surgery yet. Usually doctors are cut happy, but he doesn't want to do surgery because he doesn't want to risk me scarring my ovaries before conceiving. But yeah, so endometriosis is basically your tissues not exiting your body the way that they should.
It's like when we have a period.
When you have your period and it's flushing out. Right. So for women, it looks different. That's like the easiest way I can say it. Because for me, again, I have those endometriomas. So my tissues are forming like little balls that look like cysts or little tumors. And each month, like the tissue adds to that. But a lot of people, especially those who deal with infertility, they'll have that tissue spread maybe across their ovaries or something, like even in their stomach. Kind of where you feel your pain is also where you know your tissues are going. So in those months that I was having it like towards my butt, it was probably going towards those tissues. And so it can form scar tissue too. So that's what makes it tough to conceive a lot of times if you're starting to have scar tissue.
Have you been trying to?
We've tried for, I would say, about 7 or 8 months now. And then we kind of were like, do we want kids or do we want kids because we think we may not be able to have them? And so then I had to lean into what the Lord told me was that I was having 3 kids. I've received this in my spirit. I've dreamt about it. I've had prophecies telling me this. I 100% believe it. 3 boys to be exact.
Yeah, ooh, girl.
I know.
You better keep that trainer because it is tiring.
I know.
They're no joke, but they're beautiful.
Yeah. So we're kind of chilling. We said we're gonna let the Lord do what He does.
Okay.
We're not stopping and we're not trying either. We're just having a good time. Having a good time.
You should. As you should. And there's still so much time. And sometimes motherhood looks different, right?
Yeah.
The way that these 3 boys could come, it can be in so many different ways.
Mhm.
Like, I do understand the aspect of being a biological mom.
Yeah.
You know, my first one definitely wasn't planned. I was 17. What was I doing? She's 18 now. And that was a very different pregnancy versus one at 33 with my son 16 years later, where it was planned. It was intentional. It took me about 7 months to be able to get pregnant because I was on birth control for so long.
Same.
So it took, I thought I was broken. I'm like, I went to 2 different doctors. I'm like, check me, check the egg, check him. He's broken. I'm broken. Somebody's broken here.
And isn't it traumatizing? I was just telling a friend, every month when you bleed.
Oh, I wouldn't
when
bleed.
You're trying. Oh, you weren't having. Oh,
because I didn't have a period for 16 years.
Oh, that's even.
So then I started like spotting
stressful.
a little bit when I got off birth control, but I'm like, my body's not going back to where it needs to go, and it's like I'm not going to be able to do this, which means like you're just not woman enough. But then you also see some women that have kids in different ways. I know a lot of women that have babies off of IVF.
Yep.
Whether it's adoption, whether it's surrogacy, a lot of it costs a lot of money, but we spend plenty of money on Starbucks. Like, and when we want something, it doesn't matter how much it costs, we can get it. And digital products will get us there. Yeah. So the products will pay for 4 boys, okay?
I know that's right.
They will. But hopefully, like, you'll be able, I feel like you've been able to continue on your path. And I love that you said that, hey, let me stop forcing it. And I don't think most people are emotionally intelligent enough to say, you know what, maybe I just want it because I can't have it.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what we do as humans. I can't have it, so now I really want it. Like, I really want to have little arms and a tiny waist. It's not gonna happen. Like, baby, you're SpongeBob square ass forever. Like, that's just who I am. Even when I was this skinny, I am squared, okay?
I'm a square gal too.
Yeah.
And I have a long torso. So
I have a shorter one. I have longer legs. Yeah. So it's like, it's most people like, you look great. I'm not saying I look bad, but you know, you want something that you don't have. Yeah. Can I have the waist to go in a little bit? Can I have a little bit of hip?
Me too. I want that Coke bottle. Wanted. I'm working on it.
I'm a Skittles. I mean, not Skittles, a Snicker bar. Like, I walk around. When I'm skinny, I'm a Twix. When I'm a little bit thicker, I'm a Skittle.
Yeah.
I mean, not a, what I keep saying Skittles.
Snickers.
Skittles. So we usually want what we can't have. And I think it's that moment of acceptance when we're like, all right, maybe let it happen and let me really listen to what's meant for me. Maybe it's not right now. Right. Maybe it's not this. Maybe it looks different. And I don't think we do that too often within ourselves. But then some people might say, all right, well, you're leaning too far into like your spirituality. Like, how do you hear it? And one of the biggest things that had me lean towards your content, because I don't really subscribe or follow too many people's content, just because being a content creator plus you just get kind of lost in the sauce. It's easy to. So some of the things that like at times that I would see in your stuff was your spirituality and being so open about it. I grew up in the church. Were you born and grew up in the church, or is it something that you kind of like found yourself?
I would say both. I definitely grew up in the church. I grew up Presbyterian, which I still don't know what that means. I think it just means boring. Like it was like it was like a 20-person church in the hood, and we had this old white man as our pastor. And I'm like, you don't live here. How did we get you here? How did he get there? I don't know. Apparently, I found out later there's like this little institution where you hire pastors. So they just like, okay. So I grew up definitely knowing God, and I think the only time I was really forced to pray was over food at holidays. Right. But other than that, I thought, church, I was like, okay, it's a good time. Like, I would go, because my mom eventually started going to the Baptist church, and I was like, oh, they hooping and hollering in here. Like, and so it was kind of fun just to watch. I'm a people watcher. And then I got to college, and then I got my heart broke, and then I realized, okay, life is different, and like, I had nowhere else to go. I'm happy that I was brought up in the church because it was kind of my foundation. I didn't know where else to turn, but I was like, hey, I know when these people be crying and broke, they be going to church. That's how I knew it to be. So I was like, I'm going to church.
Right.
And I found some churches. I kind of church dated, hopped around.
As they should.
See what
People
I
don't
like.
do that. Just like therapists, you need to date a few different churches.
You need to be able to break up.
Yes. Yes.
Because I've dated some churches that I liked, and then I'm like, okay, y'all getting a little different. It's time to break up.
I'll bring this up later. Remind me to ask you about a friend that her pastor just got caught. Is getting divorced, but go ahead.
She need to break up.
Right. I said pray about it. She was really stressed out.
Yeah.
And she's like, there's all this scandal. The wife is airing him out for being a bad person. I said, look, pray about it and see where your spirit leads you, or where the spirit leads you, because we go to a church and these pastors are still human. So we start idolizing our pastors, because I love my pastor. But I'm not idolizing him. I know that he's human, and at any moment he can cheat on his wife, or he can become a drug addict, or he's openly porn addict. Like he said, he was a porn addict before. He almost lost his marriage because of it. So he's human. And if it comes to a point in time that you can no longer lead us, and I'm learning from him. I don't study the Bible like they do. I didn't go to Bible school to understand. So I use him to teach me certain stuff for me to go home and kind of build my relationship with God. So if you no longer have that, break up with the church and find a different one.
Yeah. And I think people who have challenging lives can still teach us really great things.
Yeah.
And
crackheads have great things to say sometimes. That I'm gonna follow you.
Oh, they speak the truth.
They have none to lose.
They speak the truth.
And I would, who better than a crackhead to tell you don't do this? Because look at where I am. But that also, there's other aspects of their life. And for how long are you gonna continue to say don't do this? Because it's bad, but you're doing it.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not following you, but I can listen to that one piece of advice. I'm not gonna idolize this crackhead and think, oh my God, he's the smartest man alive.
Yeah.
But I can take, I just
take
learned
a little
something from
bit,
you.
discern
that
it.
Pipe, not good for me.
Yeah.
And we probably know that. Like, we saw some people growing up that were hitting the pipe and when they were sad and going through it, and others went to church. We decided to choose the church versus the pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go to college, you go back to church to kind of have your own relationship.
Yeah, my own relationship. And that started off, it was kind of a little wonky at first, because I kind of like hopped all the way in. And I became what I call now a super Christian. Like, Jesus. Like,
Bible thumper.
Everything I'm doing is fighting for Jesus. And it was cool until I met this guy who was trying to convince me that he was my husband after a month of dating. And I was like, this ain't the church for me. And now I know that church is going just downhill.
Where is it?
In Atlanta.
Okay.
They preached a lot about marriage. And then they stopped. And the family moved.
Gone.
Okay. So every man in that church was like looking for a wife. I'm like, bro, we're 20 years old. Like, let's calm down. And so then I kind of stepped away a bit, and then I fell in love and got my heart broken. And so there was this one night where I'm talking about pathetic, girl. I was on the ground crying. I'm talking about like this. I'm lactose intolerant, and I'm eating just a tub of ice cream, like the my version of self-harm. Like I'm just gonna tear my stomach up, like. And I'm sitting there, I'm crying, and I'm like, God, why? Please bring him back. And I can't explain it. I just felt this thing come over me, and I started saying, God, thank you. And I was like, thank you for removing him from my life. Thank you for opening doors for me. Thank you. And as it's coming out of my mouth, I'm mad. I'm mad that I'm saying this. Like, it was I wanted him. It was such a weird thing. But then I was like, okay, let me try again. And I started going to church again. I found a pastor that I loved, Bishop Bronner in Atlanta. I love him. I think he's just so wise, him and his wife. And it's kind of been consistent of that. I mean, you have your ups and downs, and I now try to read the Bible like a book because I love reading. It's spicy.
The Bible has some stories, okay?
It's good.
I just got a new Bible, and I was telling this, I don't know if I told it on the pod or it was on social media, but I bought the women's study Bible, and I accidentally ordered the King James Version. And I felt wrong to send it back. I'm like, I can't stand the word back and get a refund. Like it just felt wrong. And that thing is like $50.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, Amazon, send me the new what's it called? The NIV version.
Yeah.
And I did order that one, and I do enjoy reading it along with, another study part. The stories are great, and you have to have the discernment to know that some of these stories are from years ago, completely different. Even our grandparents' society was so different from ours, right?
Yeah.
So I love having the Bible, a study book, plus my pastor to kind of break things down to what
and make it come full circle.
Yeah, and apply it to today.
Yeah.
How can we apply when the farmers to me in the digital space, right? How I'm farming now. Podcasts, not necessarily tomatoes and spinach. So that makes it really different. But you've been able to bring your spirituality into your business. And now you said you've only been around 5 years. I don't even know when I started seeing your content. But how are you able to merge both? Because I cringe a little at many people, especially recently, that have used Christianity, I would say, as a way to make money.
I cringe too. And I say that because, I don't know, I've been asked this question before, like how you're able to merge it. And for me, I think the reason that people can tell that it's authentic is because it is. I don't see it as merging. It's just my life. Yeah, like if I'm giving you an update about some stuff that I've been through, and I'm like, Lord, I have prayed over this. This is what I'm going through. I'm just going to come out and say that.
Right.
And I think it's like people have been able to follow that journey because honestly, for me, it's very rare that I'm going to ask you for money. I sell naturally. Like people, a lot of times people will hit me up and like, what can I buy from you, girl? I don't see you selling anything. And I'm like, oh, okay, I have this. I have put out small things like the Purpose to Profit Blueprint, which is like this guide that I had to just like finding your own journey towards your purpose and how to turn that into a business. But that was never me really selling it. It was just there. And if you liked my journey and you wanted something similar, it was there. I think the issue comes in where people have seen that they can profit off of God.
It's so easy.
It's so easy.
And there's so many people looking for hope.
And I think that people have this idea that somehow being a Christian gives you more credibility or integrity to the outside view. And I don't have that look because now I'm even a little bit more cautious with people.
I am very careful. I think what happened with me, I grew up in the church. Same thing. Left. I used to be lead of worship and praise dance. Why can't dance for nothing outside? But when I tell you in the church, I led it and it was great. We traveled with it. Then I left because I had my daughter young. Yeah, that was the first issue with the church. Came back, got married when she was 1. So now I'm married. Cool. Then 7 years later, I want to get divorced. And I was young. I was 17. And it's like, oh my God, you can't get divorced. Oh my God, get out of here. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to sit here with someone that I'm not happy with and is not going anywhere. So that ended up being an issue as well. And I started to realize the church is not God himself, right? The church is made of a bunch of humans. And people are looking for hope. People are looking for a way to just kind of find answers sometimes when they don't have answers. And I've kind of been able to show my journey now. When I started producing Know For Sure, and the ladies kind of started going through their journey, they would be like, oh, she's the Christian producer. No, I'm not. Yeah. I produce your content. I'm very selective on whose content I produce. And if it doesn't it doesn't align. My biggest thing is if it doesn't align with my purpose, my beliefs, my integrity, I won't do it. Right. But I was able to see how easy it was through other people that were reaching out to me trying to sell hope of God. And I'm like, but you're lying. It's like, oh, I've made all this money because of Jesus Christ, and look at me and look at there's nothing that I cringe more at. And I know that it's a business thing, but when you show me your Stripe and how much money why?
I don't understand.
I'm not changing my bank account.
It's that like crazy prosperity gospel, as if God is only here to make sure that we are rich
and money
and well dressed.
What?
And
fine man and all this stuff. Like, your business is not just gonna profit all this money because you're coming from this Christian coach. Like, do you have a foundation? Do you have systems? Are you really solving a problem for somebody? Are you really an expert at it? Are you even good at business? You know, are you showing up, you know, constantly? That there's all of these things when it comes to business, and it's not just like praying that it'll work. I'm not showing you my bank account. I'm not showing you what kind of house I just bought. Well, I mean, I will, because I'm in the house and
you'll
making
see
videos, but I'm not like, check out my new this, or look how much I spent for this. Look, thank you, Jesus, I can buy a $1,200 meal. What? Why am I seeing this? Why am I seeing that?
And it's so tone deaf.
Yeah.
It is so
because
tone
wealth
deaf.
is not money to me. And I don't know how you grew up. I grew up upper middle class. I was never needed for anything, but I was a great drug dealer before I was born. Switched it to legal. So then he ended up, you know, I had a really good life growing up. He still made us work for stuff.
Yeah.
But we had everything we wanted and needed. But I also, because I grew up that way, I saw that money didn't equate to happiness.
Yeah.
You know, things and all these material things don't equate happiness. I saw people with money that were getting their ass beat by their husbands, women that aren't able to do anything because they have to be behind this man that's powerful, just not happy. I see it today. People with all this money and they are not
miserable.
Happy. So with you being successful at what you do, where do you find and you ground yourself so money is not like your drive? Because money drives so many people. Well,
I mean, I think so. My husband has this saying that,
I heard you said my husband is white, and my husband said, let me hear what your husband said.
He just always asks, like, anytime we're doing something, we just kind of like reroute and root ourselves and ask, if social media wouldn't exist, would we be recording this? Would we be posting it? And that's just kind of like a refresher for me, and like stuff that it's just our business. I shouldn't have to post this. I don't have to highlight this. And I think I have a similar upbringing. I grew up mostly very lower class. My parents, I have a weird story. I was mainly with my mom.
Okay.
She raised us. Mom was working multiple jobs, trying to make ends meet. Dad, I now know, an entrepreneur in his own right. And now a legal entrepreneur in his own right.
We learn how to hustle from them, okay? They taught us
learn how to hustle. So I see both ends of it, and I love to say that I got my dad's brain and my mom's heart, because I learned from my dad, yes, hustle is important. You got to have new ideas. You got to be on it. You got to be going.
Right.
However, I learned from my mom that you have to be rooted in who you are, that family is the most important thing, that you have to be present, that you should have a why for why you're doing stuff. What is your purpose? What are you moving towards? Yeah. And even when I went to school, initially I thought I was going to be a surgeon. And that's just because I was tired of being broke.
I was an accountant because I was like, accountants make money.
Yeah, same. I was okay, that it makes money, I'll do it. And I had this wild thing happen to me that just switched me up.
What happened? You seen blood?
No. I had this man come up to me girl, this is a story too. Let's rewind. I was on track to be a surgeon. I was going into my senior year. Then I already applying for med school and all of that, and I kept feeling this urge to be a teacher.
Okay.
And it's more so it came from self-reflection. Like, I just remember during that like heartbreak stage and like what's going on with my life, I started to just kind of look back on all the things that I enjoyed, and I was always in a teacher role. I taught gymnastics and all this stuff. And I was like, man, maybe this is what I want to do, until I looked up that salary. And I said, no, that ain't what I want to do.
Teachers make no money.
So I just kept going. And then I was like, okay, so I'm still at that point, remember, I'm like new in faith. This is kind of college time. And I was like, Lord, this is your chance to prove to me that you're real. Okay. I usually wouldn't test. Now in my maturity, I wouldn't be testing God. But I was like, Lord, I need a clear sign. And I prayed like every day for a month. I was like, if you want me to be a teacher for some reason, I need you to send somebody to me, and they need to say, God told me to tell you to be a teacher. I didn't believe that would happen. So months after that, 30 days, I'm doing community service in the park, and I see this girl crying. And there's like a few girls behind her. And this guy was like telling her about her life. And I'm like, oh, man. And he clearly did not have a home. So I was like, oh, man, maybe he's bothering her. And so he just stops and turns to me. And it's like, God told me to tell you, you're about to be the baddest kindergarten teacher out here. And I said,
you went and found all the 5-year-olds you could find.
I boohoo cried.
So now you're crying with the girl.
We crying together. And lo and behold, I ended up being the baddest kindergarten teacher out here. And so, yeah, I ended up switching my major that day. I didn't have faith consistently. I switched it back and forth 7 times between that and biology until counselor told me that there was a maximum amount. I didn't know that. She said, you changed your major 7 times this semester. You can't do it again. I was like, okay. So I was stuck in teaching, and that was the best decision.
So how long were you a teacher
ever.
for?
Only a year and a half.
Which makes sense because you're still teaching.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? That I always said I would be a teacher. So my sister's friend who actually passed away when my daughter was 1, she was a teacher in Puerto Rico, and she was also a basketball player. So I played basketball growing up. And when she passed away, I remember going to the funeral and telling her mom, I'm going to be a teacher just like her.
Oh.
And I was going back to school and I wanted to be a teacher, and then salary.
Yeah.
And I got a kid. And I said, well, I can't be a teacher. But I've always been in some type of teaching role.
Right.
I'm always teaching something. So when I started the academy, the podcast academy, I'm like, I'm essentially teaching.
Yeah.
I'm always teaching something. So that makes sense because you're still the baddest teacher, just not necessarily kindergarten. Yeah, kindergarten was tough.
I love the babies.
That's because you ain't got no kids.
That may be true. I can't imagine having them and then going home to them. Yeah.
No, I loved children. I was everybody's babysitter growing up. Then I had mine, and I started at the daycare. So I'm like, oh, I can keep her with me. And I lasted 3 weeks. I said, these parents is nasty. Kids come like dirty and snotty.
Yeah, they do.
And they don't really take care of them. I guess kindergarten is a cute age, like 5, 6 is a cute age.
I think they're the best age because they come in knowing nothing. It just blows my mind every time like I see it start over, because I still did my student teaching. So I was really around them for about 4 years. It blows my mind. They come in like acting like babies. You gotta teach them how to hold scissors, and like at the end they're just like little adults who keep telling their parents business. It's so cute.
My mom, she got 3 boyfriends.
Yeah, they're so cute.
No, I love that you're still teaching. So regardless of the fact you followed what God had for you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's the thing. I think that's one of the things, going back to how I was able to merge God into my life, is because he's just a part of it. He's a part of my story. But I also think that I had to allow him to be, because there were a lot of times where I just tried to figure it out myself. Because I get a little bit of that from my mom, like the little Miss Independent, and I can do this. And yeah, I used to have a relationship with Christ where I felt like I would do as much as I could, and then I'll pass the baton.
Ooh, I like that analogy because it's true.
Yeah.
We do fall into that.
Yeah.
Especially when we're so hyper independent, right? And we're smart, right? So it's like, I kind of know how to get this done. And I'm like, why am I waiting? For me, it's impatience. I'm impatient, and we have to be patient as on his time. And I like my time.
Yeah.
And I'm even I had this conversation with I guess it's a colleague now, and I'm working on a project, and she doesn't know me very well. So as she's trying to get to know me, especially in this workspace, she's like, yeah, it's just you talk really fast. And I said, imagine my thoughts. I think even faster than I speak. So when we're in meetings and we don't got an hour and we're 40 minutes in, haven't touched the agenda, and now I'm rushing, like, let's go. They're like, oh, it just comes off as if you don't, like, you think you have all that's going on, and maybe you might be better. And I'm like, I'm sorry if I came off that way. It's more of, I need to go.
We need to get this done.
I don't like to sit on anything for too long. And that's why I have a team of people to be able to do so. Which reminds me, going into business, that there was a wise man that said, if you ever have to decide where to cut out costs in your business, don't cut costs from people. Your employees should not be your casualties.
My dad.
Your daddy. I bet you had them runners going. He was like, y'all gonna get a piece of this brick, baby. He made sure everybody was eating. And it's
amazing.
true, because I'm obsessed with my dad and he wasn't probably wasn't the greatest husband. I will say that. And I think I've always been vocal about it, but I think he showed me so many things on how to be a people person and how to always be humble. Like no matter what, you would see my dad with hundreds of thousands of dollars in jewelry. He comes from the pawn business, diamonds and gold. And he would have the dirtiest New Balances on. And like, you know, we had a modest home and all these things. No one really knew like who he was and what he did. And he always respected everybody. Yeah. Like it was just this sense of respect. So when he passed away suddenly, the funeral I did like 2 days later, didn't tell anyone. Like 3,000 people showed up in Puerto Rico. Wow. By that time we were leaving here like 15 years. And the different amount of people that came from executives to literal crackheads. They'd be like, this shirt, your dad gave it to me off his back, or these shoes, or these pants, or they put me on, or he spoke to me, or he fed me. And I don't ever want to, not just in business, but one thing that I don't do is treat people any less than me, because baby, you eat, sleep, and shit the same way that I do, and we all have an experience. And then I also pay more than the average for whatever it is, just because I want you to give me 110%. Feel like you're not working like a slave essentially, and give me your best work, because I feel like when we know we're getting paid more than what we not should be, but we're like
than the average else,
you're like, I'm gonna put my both feet best forward, right? So how does that look like within your team and your dynamic and the way that you work? Because my brain, I can execute. I mean, I can't execute. I can visualize, have a plan, have someone else execute.
You know what? I feel like it's tougher now because I'm transitioning a little bit. Like I am now the executor, which was different because before, again, I'm the dreamer. I'm the dreamer. I have my people. And that's, again, I learned it from my dad. That was like, I'm not going to cut people. Even if I'm like transitioning, I'm going to figure out where I can fit you in as long as it aligns with what you want to do. We're going to keep the bag going for you. And then now I'm in a space where I'm the executor because I want to go into a little bit more of like cinematography, film, in a way that
which you do great at, because your little transitions and stuff. I'm like, what is she doing? How she just flipped and when the hair changed? And I'm like, that's one thing. Shout out to you. You know, everybody has their strengths. You're doing great.
Thank you.
Those are great. So I can see how you can get into that. And that's on your own.
Yeah. So now my team has kind of shifted in a way where I have like the visionaries for me. Like my publicist, she'll come in and say, hey, here's some things that I think you should be creating for. Like I have this vision for you to do this next year. You should probably go ahead and start creating that storyline. Everything for me is like a storyline.
I love that. And
so,
it makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're like the visionaries now in a sense, or like seeing the future.
I actually like that.
Yeah.
I actually like, because I am burning out with ideas or where to go next. I feel like I've gotten to a space where I have all these ideas for this, but I'm like, there's a whole bigger world out there.
There's
of
untapped places. Lot of things.
There's money everywhere waiting to like, where is these people? And it's all about who you know, who you work with, and the rooms that you're in. So what does that look like?
You know what? That's so tough for me because I was literally just telling my dad, I don't want to be in rooms. I have a mentor who is phenomenal. She works in public relations. She's a ghost writer. Then I have my publicist. I just have people. One of my good friends was a publicist. And so all of them come from the world of like talk to people, network. And I think that's the one thing I'm just not willing to do.
Okay.
And not that I'm avoiding
over there talking for you.
At times, yeah.
They're
they got
in those
them.
rooms and like, hey, I met this person. Let me connect you to them.
Yeah, but there are just some things I'm like, I'm not avoiding people. If I can go the rest of my life without rubbing elbows, as they say, I'm fine doing that. Like if my growth takes a little bit more time, I'm okay doing that because I meet people so organically. I did my human design. I found out I'm a manifesting generator.
You have that generator.
And so that just makes it. It just comes to me. So I don't have to chase it. Like my publicist hit me up on the way here, and she was like, "Hey, there's this event, some fundraiser thing. Some people you can talk to there. I'm good." If they're supposed to be in my life, they'll come in a way.
Right.
Yeah. I
so feel that. I have my really good friend, she was a producer, my May, and she's a manifesting generator. And I'm a manifester. So there are times like even this big deal that I have right now, she's into all these like emails and like forums, and she'll just forward. She's like, hey, saw this, thought you'd be interested. Hey, saw this, thought you'd be. And I'm like, nah. Let me go ahead and send a quick email. And then it's like, how did this get brought into me? And I think it's like that. The people around you, they're like, we saw this. We know this person. But we always keep the right people around. But also it's really hard to evolve and know when to evolve and to go into something else.
That's true.
Because I'm scared to leave what I know now. I was like, oh, now I'm here. It's working. It's growing. And I'm starting to itch for something else.
Yeah. I'm just now getting over the fear of changing. But that me getting over the fear went from me looking back on my life. I'm like, okay, it has always worked out. Like, even for me going from wanting to be a surgeon to a teacher, it worked out. I think that prepared me.
You were making how much?
Oh, gosh, my take home was like $3,000 a month. I think my salary was $54,000 and my take home was probably like $32,000 in Dallas. In Atlanta, it was a little bit less.
Right. And then what's the most you've seen, let's say, in a year now?
Yearly, like $850. Yeah,
and it's such a. First of all, y'all don't be like, ooh, but then the government comes and goes,
let me take all of that.
Here we go.
Yeah, man, that shocked me. My very first year of business, which is a blessing because I know this is not the standard for first year. My first year of business, I made a little over like $250,000. I ain't getting none of that. I mean, that literally, by the time I paid taxes, I was like, okay, now I can finally have a team. I can have the support that I need. I can put stuff in business. All of my expenses, I may have had $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's when I see a lot of like six-figure, and not just because you had one. I think you had six-figure saints. Do you still have that?
It's switching.
Okay.
It's that's the name of the podcast, but it's switching to Pack Light.
I did see that.
Yeah.
So when and people that are intentionally just saying, hey, we're going to make you six figures because you're a Christian and like bring that up. To me, it's like, first of all, are you explaining the fact that six figures, 100,000, you're literally a teacher? Or probably making less money. The teacher goes home and they got the summer off. You are working 365, 22 hours a day, barely seeing a return after taxes, and the amount of money that you're putting in. Six figures really is nothing when it comes to like the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
And
honestly too, I feel a little bit, I wouldn't say sad because I don't want to seem like I'm looking down on people, but I do feel a little sad for people when they're doing that and they're posting and it's like, oh, I got $100,000. Yeah, and you worked 95 hours a week to do that. Do you still have friends?
No.
Do you have like? I feel like you have. Do you have a life? Did you get to enjoy that?
When did you sleep?
$100,000. How's your rest?
You don't rest. You don't. And that's not to say that sometimes when you're first starting a business, and
you
have
to have that little.
You will have to work a lot, and you will really have to put a lot of be intentional. But if you have the right mentors, or
YouTube is a G.
That's where you need to go. There's so much free content. I give tons of free content. You give an amazing amount of free content. I know so many folks, and then it gets to a point where free content is just not enough.
Yeah.
But by that point, you should have enough money if it's the right business for you and if you're aligned and if it's your purpose, not just because you're doing it because it's somebody else's, business that's working for them, then you should have enough money to then pay a coach to get to the next level and then, or put yourself in rooms to meet people where you can collaborate with them and do all that. But I just don't want someone listening to this, which is one of the reasons why I brought you, to show, hey, this is a person like myself who God is just part of our journey. And I'm not going to sell you Jesus. I ain't going to sell you to church. I'm not going to tell you I am going to tell you because of God I'm here.
Yeah.
That I am going to say. Yeah. But then you're also going to see it on a weekly basis. Really,
you're going to see it.
If I'm showing my life on a day-to-day basis, you'll see what happens. Like I have been around people, been with someone who, Jesus, I pray 10,000 times a day and and they are at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Have nothing.
At the end of the day, what I just love to remind people, you will know the Lord by his fruit. That's it.
Ooh, and some of them got real rotten fruit.
Some folks is rotten.
Like,
so I don't care
the worms is coming out
how
the
much
apple.
you proclaim the name of God.
Yeah. You'll see the fruit come. And most of the time, people that are really getting that fruit from
Mhm.
God themselves. We're not out here walking around with our tree. Trees don't
Mhm.
move, right? We're
Mhm.
not over here like, look at my fruit. Look at
Mhm.
no, it just shows, it oozes out of you.
Mhm.
And the people that don't like you
Mhm.
and like look at you and they're like, ugh, look at there she goes again. It's like, that's something internal.
That's something because people used to. I just want to note too. Fruit is more than likely not tangible things.
Mm-hmm.
Got the fruits of the
Most likely.
spirit, most likely. Okay, do you have patience? Do you have self-control? Do you ooze love out of
How do you
you? Are
communicate
you
with people?
kind?
Yes.
And so I remember people literally used to attack me like, "Oh my gosh, you're too happy, you're too bubbly." Okay, something, my light in me is calling out that demon, baby.
Yes.
That had nothing to do with me because I used to feel insecure over that.
I don't think I've ever felt insecure
Mhm.
over it just because I've always been a little spicy.
Yeah.
But it takes me a while to even like get really angry with someone.
Yeah.
And I have
Mhm.
this patience
Mhm.
with people.
Yeah.
Like, and even when I was in my fighting days, I wasn't gonna fight you right away.
Mhm.
I gave chance after chance after chance, and I wanted to talk.
I've always been scared to fight.
Ooh.
I fight my sister. Me and my sister have fought. I've always been scared to fight because I know I don't know how to stop.
Mm-hmm. I don't. I just stopped when I saw blood.
Mm.
And that is part of my background, part of like where my dad, I don't know, he wanted me to be a boy or whatever. It's like I had to fight and I wasn't allowed to stop until he told me to stop, you know? And I would fight him. I would fight my mom. I would fight. One time I almost got my grandma. Thank God I didn't hit her.
Lord, not
She
Granny.
took my pillow, man.
Oh.
She had an attitude about like, give my pillow back. My dirty pillow. My aunt, like teachers, I remember I spit at a teacher, but it was never just cause.
Yeah,
I always
right.
felt like disrespected or you were coming into my space and I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But it took a lot for me to get there. And I have this, I'm a kind person. I want the best for you. I want to help you. Maybe sometimes a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Like I do the most. And then it's like I messed myself up
Yeah.
because I let myself go or lost myself in trying to help you come up and you didn't even want it yourself. I want it for you more than you want it for you. So I stopped that.
Yeah.
Now it's like, you need to want it, show me you want it, and then I can come in and help wherever I can without doing too much for me. But it's taking time to kind of like get there in a way. But we have to leave our comfort zone.
Absolutely.
In order to get there. And that's probably one of the hardest parts for me to leave comfort. It was so hard. I had to literally hit rock bottom where I was on my knees in a corner just begging God to get me out of the situation. And getting me out of that situation meant losing my family. You know, losing the man that I thought was everything, you know, because he seemed so perfect at one point. But then I'm like, is he perfect? Why am I crying every night? Why do I have bruises on me? Why am I alone? You know, but then my brain was still telling me, well, he has to be the one. You already told the world, you know, you've never felt like this before. You're trying to go back to that feeling, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So that was my comfort. And it was chaos because, you know, growing up, there was so much chaos. That's what felt comfortable to me. So when have you left something that's uncomfortable? Was your relationship something comfortable? That peace that he brought you? Was that hard at first?
My husband?
Your current husband, like, did that feel, or even in
yeah.
business, was there something that was peaceful that you weren't used to?
I would say the thing that I had to leave was me. There's a version of me that I loved. A version of me that got along with everybody, that didn't stir the pot, that went along with anything that my friends wanted to do. I was just there, and I was the one that made people laugh, and no one could realize that I was the one crying inside. And so for me, I had to let go of that, which meant...
And you liked that girl.
I liked that. I liked that she was stable. I liked that she knew what was happening at all times. I liked the control that she had.
I love that.
And for me to step away from that, I had to cut off people. The best friend that I said I went to Puerto Rico with. I say best friend because it's so natural. We've been friends since we were little, but I had to let that relationship go. There's a lot of...
Have you talked about that before?
No.
Letting go of friendships is hard.
Baby, there's some real soul ties.
Yes. I
mean, I cried over that more than I cried over any man in my entire life.
Wow. What made you feel like you had to let go of it?
I felt like, okay, somebody once asked me, I'm going to my man. But somebody once asked me, how did I know that my husband was the one?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that just flew out of my mouth, which still is very true today, is that he was the first person I realized I've never had to perform around.
Okay.
No type of performance. I can be as loud and angry and crazy or just whatever I want it to be. And he loved that, and vice versa. And I realized there were a lot of people in my life that I was still performing around to make them comfortable. Okay. And so with that friendship, I think that was one of those performance relationships, in the sense of there were just things that were always swept under the rug. Or, if I wanted to talk about something, now I'm being sensitive. Or it was just more so I could never really be the person that I now felt more comfortable to step into and walk into, and I stopped liking myself around those people, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I think that friendships definitely evolve. I've cut off a few friends, and now as I'm getting older, I don't have as many, but sometimes I wonder, and I'm trying to check my spirit on how I feel around certain people. Yeah. Especially for an extended period of time. I'm like, how do I feel? What does this look like? And what does it look like letting go? Yeah. Because that's really hard, especially when you find someone that you're so close to or you're with all the time or you're around them all the time. And it's like, is it the person or is it me? Who is it? Because I always go to me first. Yeah. Like, what am I doing wrong? How can I be a better friend? How can I communicate better? Absolutely. But when you said that, you like, it's the first person that you were able to be around. I've been around someone lately that I was like, I don't think I like this motherfucker. Because all I keep doing is complaining about things that I think is just who they are. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, some people it's just who they are, and that's okay. But like, okay to be away from me. Right. And then I'm like, well, is it that I don't like you? Is it that I'm unaware? My ADHD, I talk a lot. I'm all over the place. There's days where my mood is high. There's days that my mood is low. And I need reassurance. I need somebody to talk to me about it. I speak my feelings all the time. And I'm always like blabbering. So for someone to be around me all the time really quiet, it starts making me feel self-conscious. Do you not like me? Am I annoying you? Yeah. Am I getting on your nerves? You should try the bird theory. Have you heard that bird theory? No. It's like where you're around someone and you say, oh, look, it's like a bird out the window. And if they turn and look within like the first 3 seconds, then they're actually like there for you. And if they don't, cut them loose. I'm gonna get the bird today. Try it. Because they'll let you know if they're really quiet or if they're just not, they're just not there. Today I'm gonna be like the bird. I'm gonna leave here and be like the bird. Look at the bird. Look at this bird. Oh my God. That's a really good theory. I think it was May who brought it up to me. She's like, are you just being self-conscious of you and now picking on them because you're also, and I don't think I'm truly comfortable with who I am, and that I'm constantly around people that think fast and have all of these creatives. Yeah. Basically around, my set of creative people all the time. And maybe not being around someone who's in the same space makes me feel, I don't know, different, like, or like I'm too much. But I also don't want somebody in the space. That. Yeah, because my husband, no, he's not. But he understands it. Let me tell you, just fun fact, every post that is on his feed in the past 5 years, me. Okay, that man he doesn't use social media? No, he's so hilarious. But I don't know, I love his brain in the sense that we still talk about a lot of different stuff. Like, he's like a history buff, and I don't know, he child, the ADHD on my end, he pulls that bird theory all the time without knowing. He'd be like, babe, look at this 1900-year-old history fact. I'm like, damn, I gotta look again. Like, but you can't be selfless in a marriage. You're like, oh, I'm like, oh, I don't want to traumatize him, make him feel like he's not unimportant. But he's not in the space. He's also, I think it is a little bit of ADHD, and I had to praying over changing him earlier years. Ooh. I end up praying over myself. Because he is, I don't want to say that he's a slow talker. I'm just fast, bro.
Ooh,
Like,
hurry up.
I'm like, I know what you're about to say. Finish that sentence.
So it's not just me.
It's not just you. I think is it our ADHD?
It could come out a little rude.
It could come out very rude.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So what you do now? Do you stay quiet?
No. I think we now have learned each other where we have like this. Because first of all, I was praying over here and I was like, Lord, please let him like
speed him up
a little bit. Like, and then I read this book. I think it was Power of a Praying Wife.
Okay. Yes, it's like there's a green one
and there's a
pink one and a blue one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think the first few chapters it was like, start praying over yourself first. And I was like, Jesus. I was like, you know what, Lord, let me be more patient and let me listen better and understand why he's telling me these things and how he thinks too. And so it's kind of like now we have a balance because I can explain it. It just got a little bit more kinder. Like if I know he's gonna say something, I'm like, babe, can I interject? Were you about to say this? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. Now go to the next fact. Yeah, like, so.
Next chapter.
Yeah.
No, I do that a lot. Like we cut people off. Like, and I'm learning to stay quiet a lot. Like now I'm in these meetings and these executives and I'm like, shh, speed it up. And so I just kind of stare.
Yeah.
Or I'll think of something else. Or I have to like write down my thought.
Yeah.
Because if I don't say it right away, it goes away.
And I don't think people understand how excruciating that feeling is with ADHD.
I'm gonna cry.
There have been times I'm in meetings and I'm literally getting a headache because this could have been 2 minutes. And I really just want to interrupt you and tell you, like, it's like a physical discomfort.
Yes. And no, you feel it physically, mentally, I'm hearing it. And now I'm like, I can't even concentrate on what you're saying because my brain is literally going like, it's just this, it's just this.
Yeah.
So I'll start writing down, but I'm trying not to look down because I don't want them to think that I'm not paying attention. So if I look exhausted sometimes and you want to tell me, well, you ain't done all day and you haven't worked out in 6 months, it's my brain that has me exhausted.
Yes.
I had my friend Dex call me and she's like, I think I don't want to, she didn't want to work out or go to her tennis class or something like that. She's like, but I'm going to because I haven't done anything all day. I said, well, did you work today? She's like, yeah, I've been working out. It's been busy at work. I said, well, you're okay to not go to your tennis class. First of all, you're a baddie. She's perfect. Hate her. I want to drown her. I'm like, you are beautiful. And I understand that you love your tennis class, but it's okay to be tired.
Absolutely.
Because you were working all day. You did do something, you're whole project manager, right? So give yourself some grace. You've been working all week and it's Friday. So 99.9% of the time, I'm tired just from my thoughts.
Just from the thoughts. They're running a race in there. I did a sleep test one time. Because I was like, there's no way. I went to Equinox, that was my gym. And so.
Equinox. She'd be selling shit. That's the rich people gym. I like to go Planet Fitness like pizza.
They had this sleep test. I went in first, like, for my heart. And I was like, yeah, I also, like, when I sleep naturally, when I sleep without an alarm, that was my first thing to start doing. She said, stop sleeping with an alarm and see how long you sleep. I was going like 10, 11 hours. And I was like, that feels natural for me. That feels good. And to this day, I'm a 9.5 hour sleeper. Really? I have clocked it. And so we did a sleep test and I had to go to sleep. And I found out that my brain was just basically working so hard that I didn't get active rest until, as like 70% of the time I was asleep, I was actually resting.
Okay.
But my brain was active. And so like the oxygen, it was like all this stuff. Basically, I'm not sleeping that whole time that I think that I'm sleeping.
Oh, because you wake up tired.
Tired.
I still wake up tired. And I try not to. Also, my alarm, I don't know if I've said this on here before, but I can't wake up to a regular alarm.
Oh,
like,
oh yeah. No, that's so, yeah.
My day goes to shit.
I have a little.
I have birds.
It's like a little.
I have nature and birds chirping, and it starts really slow and like, and I'm like, oh, there they are. And it's like, I should make one of those reels when it sounds like, all right. And I literally wake up a lot softer than when I wake up to a regular alarm. Whenever I hear a regular alarm, my nerves
shot,
done,
stressed. I have my Alexa set up, so my alarm goes off first, and then 3 minutes after, my Alexa comes on and gives me good news for the day, just any piece of good news. And then after the good news goes off, it starts going into gospel music. From? I don't know. I set it up. I said, Alexa, like it's an automated thing now, and it's like, Alexa, give me good news.
Shut up! I'm gonna tell Alexa to do that today.
So it'll be like, a man saved a girl from an accident, and I'm like, oh, how sweet.
That's
5
nice.
puppies were picked up on the road and given to a shelter. Oh my God, how sweet.
That's actually really good because we do Good Vibes every morning on the radio show at 6:15. So if I wake up at 4:30 with a good story, I'll have a story for the radio station.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell Alexa to help me out with my content.
Tell Alexa to do it. Yeah.
And then gospel I do too. I play Tasha Cobbs Leonard all day long.
I love Tasha.
Do you like her song with Nicki Minaj?
I just heard it and I never
No,
played
not
it
the
again.
new one, the old one.
Oh, I don't think so. Which one is it?
It's I mean, I gotta talk about it here all the time.
I probably have heard it.
Nicki, and I know that I just saw they put another one out and I haven't heard it. Was it bad?
I skipped past it some soon. Oh.
Yeah, and
yes.
Nicki's a thing.
I don't have
Yeah, it's so good. That one is good. No, wait, this might be the old one. Blessings is the new one. I'm Getting Ready is the old one. Okay. Yes, I'm Getting Ready is the old one. 6 years ago.
I don't know if I'm a fan of the one with Nicki.
The first one or the second one?
Probably both.
Oh, I really like the first one. There's one with Sierra
I have to listen to the first one. I'll go back and listen to the first one. Because what I do is I curate my playlist. So like if I'll put it on the radio version where it just plays different songs and then I'll add to my playlist. So if it's not on my playlist,
the morning show early at 5 a.m. has gospel. So when I'm driving to work, I have like the gospel playing. And then I'll be like, oh, I like this song. Who is it?
And then add it.
Yeah. I don't really be knowing Christmas artists like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any artist. Yeah, I just be vibing out.
And I don't like a radio. They get mad at me all the time. How your radio disc jockey? Mind your business. The Lord. God said I need to be there for now. But we are gonna go into. We can just talk, girl. They're gonna kill me here.
Sorry.
No, I do have a letter that I do want to kind of go over really quickly. So if you have any questions, go to askcarlawilmaris@gmail.com. You can also DM me. I know the DMs kind of get lost, so just maybe write on the top advice letter or go to the pivots page instead of my personal one because the DMs are wild. This one says, my mother passed away a few days ago after a 12-month fight with pancreatic cancer. Oh, we just had a judge.
Yeah, the judge had cancer.
I'm trying to be mindful of my current mental state. I know if there is one thing my mother would have wanted, it would have been for me to come out of the situation stronger and enjoy my life as much as possible from here on out. I'm 28. I'm 28 and live with my brother and dad. My mother, she was 61, lived with us too. It has been a strange few days, that's for sure. Overall, it isn't a feeling of shock. I personally just feel quite lost in terms of where to navigate myself from this point onward, whilst getting used to the fact that I will never get to see her again, ever. That fact makes me so sad. The last year has just been a blur. I just did what I felt I needed to do to help my mom be as happy as she could be with the time she had left. I distracted myself as much as possible with healthy and unhealthy habits to not think about what was going on. The year was brutal to her right from diagnosis. She went through so much and so fast. Do I give myself time to relax and process my emotions, or can that be unwise? Do I focus more on my work or fitness? Do I set new goals for myself? I certainly have a few bad habits at the moment. Do I start focusing on getting rid of them? What did you find was helpful for you at the point where I am now to help you keep moving forward? What didn't help? Yikes. So I lost my dad, but my dad was sudden.
Yeah.
You know, my dad had a heart attack on it was Sunday, Father's Day, Juneteenth. I was like, you want to talk about with a bang. Nigga, Father's Day? Yeah. All right. Nigga, calm down. I want everything for you. It was, for me, was shocked. But I also know a couple friends one specifically who went like a long battle. So it was like you're constantly preparing and dreading for this one day. And once the day comes, it's still like, they're still not here. And you are right. I do want to validate you on the fact that it does feel crazy knowing you'll never see them again. It's weird, you know, when you spend your entire life with someone, you can call them, you can text them, you can show up, you can at least see them there. They're gone. There's no communication for me. Like, my dad never got to see me as an entrepreneur, you know? So that's really hard. Anytime I get a big old check or my taxes coming in, I'm pissed off, or I don't know where to invest. I'm like, damn, I wish he was here. So all of that is valid. And some things that can seem positive are also negative. Like toxic positivity is a huge thing. Oh, yeah. I experienced that. Like, I was always like, we're good and we're fine and we keep trucking, and that I went even down further. So I think therapy is definitely one of those things that you want to use. I've used therapists like here locally where I went to go see and virtually. till she ghosted me 6 years later. And then I started using BetterHelp, like for real myself, which is where I'm still at, just
I like
because it's
BetterHelp.
cheaper.
I like their groups too.
I've never done the groups.
I love them.
And I always see them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it.
They're dope. I like them actually more than the individual therapist. Yeah.
So I went through a few. I dated a few therapists on there, and finally found some. Because some of them, I'm like, what are you doing here? And why are you working for minimum wage? Because I don't pay much. So how are you talking to me? So definitely BetterHelp. You can use the code PWP, or it'll be in the description. You can get 10% off and like get it super cheap. There's financial aid. But therapy, I think, is one of them. And second, it's just like kind of set with your therapist or with yourself, and books and reading, process those emotions. You have to. I didn't process mine for like 3 years.
Yeah.
So that was really hard. So processing them from right away, so you don't get stuck with unhealthy habits, even though they might seem healthy. Like going to the gym every day and busting your ass all the time is not healthy.
Yeah.
You know, like now you're masking something. So you want to be kind of whole all the time. And what was helpful to me at that time, Jesus. What wasn't helpful was pushing through it like it didn't happen. You know, it's like, well, it's fine. I have to be the strong one. Everyone's relying on me. That wasn't helpful. And I think what was helpful was when I did start therapy and starting kind of like balancing out and learning boundaries. So now it's like when you have to put certain boundaries, and even boundaries within yourself. I have to tell myself, no, this is enough here. Or I set aside time to cry. Oh. And I learned that from my therapist. There were times she's like, I wouldn't cry, and I would hold it all. And she's like, okay, well, right now, schedule it. I'd be like, all right, tonight for 20 minutes, I'm going to soak in my misery. Wow. And I would do 20 minutes of like crying, letting it all out, being just negative on the pen, more like typing, or on my notes. And then once that was done, I'm like, all right, I feel better now. Yeah. And I can move on. Wow. I don't know. I think you still have both your parents, right?
Yeah. But my moments of grief, I've had grief in different ways. I've had, my grandfather did pass, and I think that was probably the hardest close to home that I've had. I've had closer to home, but we were really close, my grandfather. Then I had this year where I lost 11, I wouldn't say all close friends of friends, and that was really hard because they were all 27 and under.
Lost their life. Shit.
Yeah, no, yeah. Their life in all weird ways, like house fires, somebody laced weed. Is just a lot of different stuff. And so, but you know what's weird? I didn't really process losing my grandfather until my father had a heart attack. And now he's alive. But I don't even like to call it grief. It was just a period where I realized how real life was, and it was really depressing for me. And I kind of lost the idea of the dad that I thought I had. Like, he was no longer that superhero. And I started to, I've dealt with depression in the past. So I started to kind of reverse and start to ask myself again, what's the point of life? Like, everybody's just going to die. And one therapy has really helped me. I'm consistently in therapy. I finally got into an in-person therapist.
Yeah? Do you like it better?
I do. That girl be having me crying, though. I mean, I cry online, too, but I'm like,
me too.
Man, jeez.
I feel like I cry most sessions.
I definitely. I'm considering doing EMDR.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to update each other.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I did talk to my therapist. She wants to go back to certain things that I haven't, because she's new. I've been with her for about 6 months, so we have to start.
Yeah. Some new old wounds. Yeah. But I like that, and I also now I kind of have like a grief game plan that I came up with my therapist, and part of that, it's one thing that I like is I take a day where I just like journal. And more so, I'm writing down a list of things that have once made me feel good. Okay. And they have to be healthy. That's like the only rule. So like anything like going to the arcade, sitting outside, just a whole list. And I'll choose one to do a day. Okay. And it feels, honestly, at first, it doesn't feel good. Like I'm just sitting there and just like, what the hell am I doing here? And then it kind of starts to be my pickup. But really, therapy is the biggest thing for me to help me process things and understand, and I would say navigate things, because
I wish we were more open like white people are about therapy.
Yeah.
That shit to them is like dinner at 5 o'clock.
All the time.
Like, you need to go.
And they have the therapist on call. They have the type that you just like, hey, I'm going through, I've had a hard day. May I come in? Yeah,
and they let you in. I had that with my therapist. Boy, I wonder what happened to her. Why'd she leave me? It's so sad. But my new one, she's like, I'm gonna give you my phone number. And you can text me.
I got my phone number.
Yeah, she said the last one said, she's like, that's why you need my number. And I always forget to ask her for it at the end. So I'm definitely gonna do that. And I know the invoice will come right afterwards. But it's the point of it. I know it's a transactional relationship, but they do help. And we have friends that love us and they love to give us advice because they love us. But most of the time, our friends aren't the ones to do that. And although I can tell you here all day, this is what worked for me, it might not be what works for you. I have an 18-year-old that's an asshole. I have a 2-year-old that's another asshole. So it's like I'm going through other things that it's like my escape looks different than everybody else's, right?
Yeah.
So definitely, I think therapy is the...
I know this is kind of a random question, but do you have life insurance? Is your mom still alive?
My mom is alive.
Do you have life insurance on her?
No.
I literally hit up my grandparents that are alive and my parents as I'm getting life insurance. It's in the process. I'm sending them paperwork. My baby daddy. Smart dude. I'm trying to get anybody who will give me permission to.
You don't even need their permission.
You don't?
Nope. I did it and told him like a week later. I said, I don't know what's going to happen.
I didn't know that.
And I didn't get a dime from you, so I got this.
I think it's because my dad had a heart attack, but they need him to do like blood work and stuff like that. Right. Wow. Yeah. I say that to say because I'm starting to realize I want to have the freedom to grieve financially. There's a lot of people who are forced back into a life, workplace, the motions when they're not ready. And I'm now have looked at it, life insurance and getting that money as a way of like, okay, I'm giving you the freedom to grieve my life.
And sometimes life insurance is not crazy. You can get a quick $50,000, $100,000
just to hold you over for a few months.
Pay $80 a month just for you. We're all gonna die. Yeah. You know, you might be paying until they're 120. Lord have mercy, my mom would stay alive that long. It's crazy. I don't have a relationship with her. Yeah. So I guess it would be weird for me to put, but you're not wrong. Yeah. I should. Because you can put life insurance on anybody. Yeah. Like they don't have to be family. Yeah. Yeah. And you become the beneficiary. I like that. Yeah. Actually, the best business tip you're going to get out of this podcast is go put life insurance on everybody.
Everybody you know.
Set aside some money and put life insurance on them because you really can. I literally did it with my son's father. I don't get a dime from him. He doesn't come around. Lord knows what he's up to today. So I put life insurance on him. Because
he don't pay you back either way.
And the beneficiary is my son. Of course, it's me as his trust until he's 18. But at some point, it's going to happen, you know? And if you ain't living life right, who knows what's going to happen? But crackheads do live forever. I did not say he's a crackhead. I'm just saying, like, some people just live forever when they shouldn't have. Like, even when I think about my dad, I'm like, why did he have to go at 60? There's some people out here that you could have went first. Is that right?
But you know, what's that saying? The devil gives blessings too?
Yeah, that Lucifer out here just giving it away.
And deals, living a long time.
Well, therapy and life insurance, baby. Therapy and life insurance, what we got out of that letter. Now, to wrap up the episode, every episode I end with a Bible verse. Okay. I usually find something that kind of like sticks out to me, whether it's from when I went to church or listened to church, because since I'm traveling, I love to watch Pastor JJ. Journey Church online is my thing. Going in person, so much better. Yeah. But every Sunday here in, I guess it's considered Maitland, but Journey Church Orlando with Pastor JJ. He's so good. But I don't know where I got this one from, but it's Hebrews 11:6. Okay. And it says, and without faith, it is impossible to please him, for whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who seek him. Here, there were a few words that stuck out to me, and it was, without faith, you can't please him. You can't please him. So faith is the biggest thing because faith is blind. You don't see anything. It's not tangible. And that's really hard to do. And then it says that God must believe, for whoever who draw near to God must believe that he exists. Part of the faith. I think sometimes we're like, and I've experienced this. Is God really real? Within my faith, I've had that. It's like, is he real?
I've had moments where I'm in church. I'm like, is this a cult?
Bro.
Like when we're singing together and they do that a cappella stuff, they drop the music. I'm like, bro, what's going on?
Is Is that her brain? And people do that because it happens.
Does anybody else think that way?
No, I do. I really, really do. And I'm like, am I doing something? Even sometimes when I'm tithing, I'm like, am I supposed to be tithing?
I'm like, this kind of wild.
Who wrote this book? Like, who did it? But again, there's faith behind it. And I've always said this. I've been tithing. And I haven't had an ambulance come pick me up yet since I've been tithing. No, I tithe and I haven't needed for anything. And sometimes I look at my account and I'm like, bro, there's no way as an accountant this would ever be here. Or I would have the deals that I have and my tithes just come out automatically. I have them on auto pay because if not, I won't pay them because I've been getting mad. And then that God rewards those who seek him. And to seek him is an action.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to have this action constantly, whether it's from you watching online to reading the Bible to praying and then applying that to your everyday life, being kind to people. You know, whenever I speak about something, I'm not going to be ashamed to say, oh, God is good. You know, sometimes I'll be in the studio and we're in a production and something happened. I'm like, look at God. We're 2 hours late, but what a blessing that we're here.
Right.
What a blessing that everybody still made it. And sometimes I feel really preachy when I say it, but it comes out automatically. Yeah. And I'm like, are they thinking I'm being weird? I really get self-conscious when things like that come out of me.
I do too sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah. Especially now that I'm doing like more speaking and on stages. And I'm like, again, it's just a part of my story. It's part of who I am. So I'm
and
like,
it's part of how I talk to myself on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly saying, wow, look at what God has done, because I've seen and have been on the other side when I was doing things on my own. So it's just, you can't please him without faith, and you can't get rewarded without actively seeking him. So although I am not perfect, I am not your pastor, I am not your deacon. I am a regular schmegular podcaster, girl, producer, business owner that is trying to do the best that I can with what I got and what I know. And I try to seek people around me now more than ever that are aligned with my beliefs. Because yes, we have people around us sometimes that have different beliefs, but if you're talking to them constantly and they have a different view, that just warps your thoughts. It takes you out of there. So I want everyone to just kind of just Hebrews 11:6, believe that he exists, seek him, and you'll see a difference. And this is just because I've seen it in my life.
Yeah. My mom says faith is God's currency from that scripture. And I love that reminder.
I like that.
Yeah. It's like, all I'm asking you is for faith.
That's it.
And I'll give you the desires of your heart.
I like that.
And that's another topic for another day, because the desires are really his desires.
Right. Because I was like, if we're going by our desires.
If we're in alignment,
when we're not aligned, that's when our desires are a little off. And we're like,
and then we're like, why I'm not getting that?
Yeah. Like, I really wanted that man right there. That was my man. And I was like, but that's not what God had for you. That was your desire off of something else that you weren't listening to what he had going on. So definitely read your Bibles, people. Go to someone that you trust that takes time to go to Bible school and really pastors have a different relationship than we do. You know, this is what they do all day. Like when someone comes to me about podcasting, right? And the marketing of it and the cutting the clips and the creative, they're like, wow. You know, all this. Someone comes to you about your reels and how you come up with all this content and your ability to speak. Sometimes it's like, how does that happen? It's what I do. Yeah. On day in, day out, because it's what I'm passionate about. That's what they're passionate about. So allow that pastor to teach you and read, seek him. Seek him in everything that you do and everyone that you're around. Someone has something to give you. And also you'll have the discernment to know when someone is full of shit, really.
Discernment.
And just, it'll push them away. Well, that is your episode that I have for you this week. Thank you so much. She didn't came from a whole other state. And I would love to say it was just for me, but her daddy also around here.
I love you both.
I know. It's a little bit of both. Where can they find you? What do you have going on like that's new that people can like kind of do stuff with you?
Yeah, so you can find me online at Isis Brianna. From there, I have linked to just about everything.
Her links are amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I would say right now, buy my book, Skyrocket Your Business with Social Media Branding, and leave a review on Amazon. My publisher is on my behind.
About reviews?
About reviews. Because there was an accident when the book first came out. People were leaving reviews, and they never got posted because, girl, there's some tea in the publishing world that I did not know.
Really?
Did you know that if you make it sound like you know the person, Amazon won't post it? So, of course, a lot of my followers were like leaving reviews. They're like, oh, I love Isis. This is such a wonderful book. And if it's deemed as like personal, it won't get posted.
That's rude.
Yeah, so there's a lot of
But so you have a publisher.
book publisher, yeah.
When you go to Amazon, doesn't Amazon take a huge cut of the book?
I don't know because they handle that.
Makes sense.
So I have a contract with my publisher, and then they handle everything. So I just get my residuals quarterly.
Okay.
And I like it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big deal because everything I hear from my friends that have book deals is that the book business is the one with the most integrity and the one that really you be getting checks from.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter what, they come in.
Yeah.
So is that the only place they can find it, on Amazon?
No, you can get it pretty much everywhere. But here's the thing. Amazon is ruling the world. Amazon reviews, at least for my publishing company, dictate how many books the actual brick and mortar stores pick up. So like they'll look at their purchase and say, okay, we're having this many online purchases.
Let me see. Amazon.com. What's it called?
Skyrocket your business with social media branding, which was not my vote. Until the month before releasing this book, what did you want to call it? It was supposed to be called The Paid Equation. That was agreed upon. And then they did market research. They like analyzed a couple thousand people.
Did you read it as an audiobook? Was it your voice?
No, I didn't read it. Oh. I didn't read it. I got a little country twang.
They didn't want your country twang?
I didn't want my country twang.
Why?
Because I talk fast. I speed over stuff.
And that's what editing is for. We slow you down.
That's true. I think next time
you'll do your audio.
Yeah, and I don't think my next book is definitely not going to be a business book. I think it's going to be more heart.
I definitely want to do a book of my life.
Yeah, like a little memoir.
I do.
I'm actually taking a memoir
I have to
class.
purchase to leave a review, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just purchased it, and I'm gonna be like, I don't know her. I'm gonna start like that. I don't know her.
I don't know this woman, but the book was...
ran across this, and it seems like it would have been great, and it was amazing. So y'all make sure to go check out the book. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I see you sometimes doing brand deals, and I'm like,
yeah,
check, yes, get it. So shout out to you and Isis Brianna on everything. I'll make sure we tag it. So producers, make sure we tag it everywhere. And again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
Sets me on fire.
You're easy to talk to.
Thank you.
A lot of people aren't. It's because our brains connect.
The brain.
Yeah.
The brain be braining. It does. Let's go have a drink.
Yeah.
I be having a drink and my nose
what does this mean?
I have a drink and I'm like, do I feel the tip of my nose yet? We're getting out of here. Bye, y'all. See you next week.